Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure many of you, like myself, have a deep interest in history. And there's a lot of history here in the city of Frankfort and across the Commonwealth. But I want to bring our attention to one specific instance and one specific thing in this city that honestly is recognized across Kentucky and our nation. But I want to share a story with you. And if you've read the resolution, it reads like a story. It gives you the history of the monument itself. It gives you the legal precedent. And then it gives you the history of the Ten Commandments in our nation. But in 1971, the Fraternal Order of Eagles gave a gift of a monument inscribed with the Ten Commandments to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That monument was displayed here on the Capitol grounds until the 1980s. At that time, it was moved to storage due to a construction project, and it remained there for quite some time. In the year 2000, a resolution was passed to bring that monument back to the Capitol grounds. That resolution was legally challenged. At that time, it was returned to the Fraternal Order of Eagles in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, where it remains today. Passage of this resolution would restore the monument to the new state capitol grounds. There's a long history and tradition of public monuments and displays that acknowledge the role the Ten Commandments have played in our Commonwealth, in our great nation. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared up the legal issues that surrounded this and has made history and tradition the standard. Returning the monument to the Capitol grounds is historic restoration and acknowledges the history and tradition of the Commonwealth and our nation. If you read the resolution, there's a number of legal items in there, but I just want to bring your attention to two. In 2005, the Supreme Court upheld the exhibition of an essentially identical monument that's now on display at the Texas State Capitol. That's the Van Orden case. And in that, it was stated that the lemon test, was not useful in dealing with the sort of passive monument that Texas had erected on its Capitol grounds, and instead focused on the nature of the monument and our nation's history. Just a few years ago, in 2022, we had the Coach Kennedy case when the Supreme Court upheld the right of Coach Kennedy to pray privately on the field after football games. The court held that the shortcomings of lemon had become so apparent that this court long ago abandoned lemon. In the Adlin case, which was the case that dealt with this monument in 2000, the court said that while we have recognized that individual Supreme Court justices have expressed reservations regarding the lemon test, we are an intermediate federal court and are bound to follow the test until the Supreme Court explicitly overrules or abandons it. That is what occurred in the Kennedy case. And when you look at the history of it, the history of this monument specifically, and monuments like it, the Fraternal Order of Eagles donated more than 100 of these nearly identical monuments to state and local governments around the nation over the course of several decades. In the Van Orden case, they said that such acknowledgments of the role played by the Ten Commandments in our nation's heritage are common throughout America and throughout our nation's capital. And U.S. Supreme Court's opinions, like its buildings, have recognized the role of the Decalogue in our American heritage. Executive and legislative branches have also acknowledged the historical role of the Ten Commandments, which have an undeniable historic meaning. The Ten Commandments have had a significant impact on the development of the fundamental legal principles of Western civilization, as stated in the 105th Congress in 1997. And in the American Legion case, they said that the Ten Commandments have historical significance as one of the foundations of our legal system. This resolution does three things. Number one, it directs the Historic Properties Advisory Commission to retrieve the monument from Hopkinsville. Secondly, they return the monument to the new state capitol grounds and place it in Monument Park. That's located down here just to the side of the Capitol at the corner of State Street and Shelby Street. And lastly, they just maintain the display. That is simply all this does, Mr. Speaker. And I would urge the members of this body to stand with me in historic restoration and bringing this monument back to the new state capitol grounds.